Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 270 of the All Dolphins podcast. On this, yes, I'm going to date it. Friday, I can't even remember the date, April 19th, 2024. We are now 6 days away from the start of the 2024 NFL draft, and we're going to be talking draft again today. There's no player transaction, player news to report. Sorry.
Pandemonium in terms of the rumors, the reports, the speculation, this team is taking this guy, this team is trading for this player. When do you think that starts? Tuesday?
Most screen time, yes. It starts maybe even Monday, and it'll happen. And you'll hear like this team really, really loves its players. Maybe they don't, or this team has cooled off on this prospect, even though they really, really, really want him.
What most fans don't realize is that NFL executives from every level, scouts, coaches, executives, GMs, player personnel directors, they all gossip amongst themselves. They exchange informations, and it's like little schoolgirls. They're just chitter chatter. So I think a lot of the weekend you hear a lot of rumors. Like I remember one year there was an agency, not an agent, an agency. It was Octagon. Okay. That literally could tell you who were going to be the first 16 picks in order. And there are people that know these things, like literally in order.
Sure. But here's the thing. And when you look at all these mock drafts, and my Lord, if I lost count of how many mock drafts there are, and we're going to talk about the Fan Nation mock draft, in which I participated Wednesday. It was released today, both on SI National and on si.com/Dolphins/NFL/Dolphins, where I explained the justification for my pick.
Yeah.
Which truth be told, wouldn't have been my first choice. But again,
bro, you were like complaining about this pick yesterday. I would have been thrilled if that was on the table when I made Sam Farmer's mock draft. I would have raced to the podium. I didn't even get that fortunate.
See, okay.
You were lucky.
See how that works. And then there were a couple of guys that I really think the Dolphins would go for who were not there, but we'll get into that. We are going to do a quick history lesson on this Friday, episode 270. So it ends with 7-0. Dolphins have made the 70th overall selection in the draft 3 times, most recently with Brandon Jones in round 3 of the 2020 draft, who wound up playing 4 seasons for the Dolphins. Before signing with the Denver Broncos as
had a very respectful NFL career. You would agree? Disagree?
It's been okay. I mean, he was a very, very good blitzer for the Dolphins his first 2 years.
Which is why they called him Blitz Boy.
Correct, in his scheme, and wasn't asked to do as much of that the past 2 seasons, and also injuries got in the way with the torn ACL during the 2022 season, from which it took him a while to fully recover. And then last year he got a very slow start because of that. He did get into the rotation at times in the secondary and wound up with
Javon Holland's injury.
Yes, and he wound up with a 2-pick game in the shutout win against the New York Jets at Hard Rock Stadium in December, and got himself a nice contract with the Broncos. Certainly salute him.
What? 2 for 14?
No.
Yeah, or was it 3 for 21? It was something. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, look it up. It wasn't nearly that.
No, it was good. It was good. It
wasn't that substantial. Anyway, regardless, best of luck to Brandon.
That deal was absolutely substantial. The Dolphins wouldn't have paid 1/3 of what he got.
Anyway, best of luck to Brandon.
He got 3 for 20.
He got 3 for 20. That high? Wow.
He got 3. I told you he got 3 for 20. I mean, you know it's not really real, but what he really got.
Even at that, even when you get to the real numbers,
yeah,
good for him. Wish him the best of luck in his career moving forward. We'll be keeping an eye on him, or I'll be keeping an eye on him, because I know the second they leave Miami, you couldn't care less. I actually happen to keep tabs on every former Dolphin to see.
Are you saying you as the fan or me?
No, you Omar Kelly.
That is not true. I keep up with all of the people that I like. Like, I'm going to be cheering for Rob Hunt. Like,
okay, yes, those players that you like personally. I keep tabs on all of them. I cheer for the ones who I like, and I like Brandon Jones. Brandon's a really good guy.
I didn't have any beef with Brandon Jones.
I never said you did. Whoa,
Yeah,
I never said you did. Never said you did.
Okay.
Okay, the other two times the Dolphins picked 70th overall, one of which I forget the year, was Larry Webster, defensive tackle from Maryland, who was a starter for a few years, solid player. His son actually wound up having a cup of coffee in the NFL, as I recall.
Nate Webster?
No. I think it's Larry Webster Jr., I believe.
Okay, damn.
It wasn't related to Nate Webster. And then the other one, who should be very familiar to Dolphin fans, because now he's doing radio talk in South Florida, and also has a budding career as a stand-up comic.
Channing Crowder.
Channing Crowder, 70th overall pick.
Who has made national news twice this week for, for one, having Drake hit on his wife at a concert. And
while
then
suspended in midair. No less.
Hell yeah. And then and I believe I was at that concert. And then what was the second time he made news?
While in the middle of a cat.
Yeah, he's like in the middle of hosting the QAM Hawk and Crowder show, and he loses a tooth. Like a tooth just like pops out while he's talking on video.
Yeah, and then he starts going like this, and then you see the gap here, and then Mark Hochman, the host, came up with a hilarious line. I think it was something. What happened, Abuelo? Abuelo with his grandfather in Spanish. That was funny. So hat tip to Hawk for that line. That was awesome.
Listen, and Crowder, we can argue. We will argue. Crowder is in the top 4 of inside linebackers since the Zach Thomas era. Name me 4 better.
No, I don't disagree with that. If you were going to say one of the top 4 former Dolphin players on air, I would have told you. I mean, slam dunk. That guy's phenomenal.
Listen. Hold on, wait. I've been in that podcast space. The Pivot is Pivot is top 3 sports podcasts. Yeah. They are what I Am Athlete used to be, and part of the reason that I Am Athlete is not what it once was is because Channing is not there anymore, and he's with the Pivot, and the Pivot does phenomenal job. I
agree. Channing's fabulous, and those of us who covered the Dolphins knew he was going to be great because he always had a great personality. 2 quick things about Channing. He was fabulous, great with the media, always joking, except for 1 year, and it was a year when he was not happy with his contract, and if you recall, he was massively short. He was not in a good mood, and came across. The other, tell me I'm wrong. And the other thing with Channing,
I don't remember that. I don't think I was here during the Channing contract, like push. Maybe I was, but anyway, go ahead.
Because it wouldn't have been.
No, I think I was, but Channing was always good with me because I used to. I remember Channing ran the locker room store where yes. This is one of my favorite stories about Channing because this is the era of like mixtapes and bootleg stuff. So. If players needed a mixtape that was coming out back when we used CDs and DVD players, or needed the latest movie, or needed some dip, or needed some gum, or needed some whatever, Channing ran a BJ style store inside his locker and literally charged NFL players like $20 for everything, and because that was like their dollars. So, and he made a killing.
And then you also organized little card game in the middle of when they had a table in the middle of the locker room. He
organized. I don't think he was a coordinator.
He was always a big part of it. Here's another one too that I like. Another quick Channing Crowder story. The first time the Dolphins were headed to play in London, which was the first ever regular season game in England, was 2007 against the New York Giants. And then Channing, being I'll say it like this, kind of the goofball that he is, starts joking around like, I don't know nothing about London. The only London I know is London Fletcher. And some people ran with it as if he was being serious, maybe not realizing that Channing Crowder was a member of the National Honor Society. I mean, the dude's really, really smart. And he was just messing with folks, and they were like, I don't know, like this.
In today's age of social media, he'd be a superstar, which is exactly why the Pivot does well. They feast on Channing's sensational moments.
Yeah, no, and he's very great personality. So anyway, he was one of the number 70s. Okay, the number now that applies for 2024 is 21, which is where the Dolphins pick, which is where I was obligated to pick as part of the Fan Nation mock draft, as I explained on the show yesterday. Because again, if you do trades on the mock draft, and you got 32 people involved, it gets complicated in a process that usually takes like an hour to do just to make the picks.
Are you crazy? It takes you an hour to do all of your picks? That's a quick mock draft.
And make the picks, and then you write it up, and then you produce it, put it together. Dude, it shouldn't really, if you have your draft board, it shouldn't take that long to do it. Come on, let's be honest here.
I don't know, man.
Oh, God, are you one of those who would play fantasy football and take your full 10 minutes to make your pick? Oh, I hate it. I hate those people. I hate those people.
Hey, I don't want to make a mistake, okay? And I need my time. I need my time. I strongly encourage every executive to use their time wisely. You never know what's going to happen.
That's fine on draft night, but for us who are doing it for fun, I remember playing in a fantasy league, and invariably you have a league that moves very quickly. The time limit's like, let's say, 5 minutes between picks. You have guys who do it in 30 seconds. It moves along, and then you hit that one guy, and you see the clock going, and it's like takes the full 5 minutes. That's you. Favorite figure would be you.
Oh, man. So, yes, mock drafts, we do not trade, and I totally commit to where you are. I think trading in a mock draft, it just throws everything off. And that's what happens when one trade, people who do mock drafts, and they're like, oh, you guys got 5 right. Like, one trade throws off the whole draft. Like,
it does.
Stop. And it's a moving target. So yesterday, you were belly aching and moaning and crying and complaining about how you didn't have many great selections.
Jesus Christ, I pointed at it once, and now you go with the belly aching and moaning, complaining, and crying. Jesus.
You made it seem like you were just left with willy-nilly riffraffs. Just everybody on the board was gone. And I just need you to confess to the people who you took.
And it's a good player, obviously. I mean, and obviously, what's this again with this? I wouldn't have taken
like the top defensive tackle on some people's boards. Like there are 2 guys who are
correct. There are 2 guys. Well, now that Omar has spoiled that it's a defensive tackle, it's a defensive tackle. And let me preface it by saying my first option has been, is, and will remain trading down to pick up like a 3rd round pick, for example, because I think you can get somebody at 27, 28 who will be highly comparable and as useful as somebody at 21.
Same caliber of player, though, at 21?
As opposed to 27, 28? Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a gulf like that. So
listen, Chris Greer already told you that he's going to trade his 2nd to get a 3rd, not his 1st.
Oh, I don't recall him signing a declaration or a
that was definitely a hint. You did not pick that hint up?
Oh, because he said it literally. Does that mean
he literally said it?
Does that mean he's locked into that?
No, it doesn't mean he's locked into that, but it does mean and hint. And I think everything that's said in those pre-draft press conferences are intentional, in my opinion. And he flat out hinted, I like 21. I feel I'm going to get a legit 1st rounder. We said 15 to 16 are legit 1st rounders. I'm confident I'm going to get one of those guys. I've surveyed all of my peers. They acknowledge I'm probably going to get one of those guys. And basically, if you want it, you better come correct. That's what I got. That's the hint I got.
Correct.
Now, two, I do want to pick up more draft picks, and I am very open and willing to move my pick number 55.
And I would tell you that even though, and we write it the way he says it, because we're going to take him at face value, I would tell you it's just as likely, if not more, that they trade the 1st round pick than as a second round pick.
They literally have 2 assets that anybody cares about in this draft. So yeah, and everybody in the world knows they need more assets, because if you look at the stable of young developmental talents, and I did a breakdown for SI for go ahead, Poupard.
SI.com/NFL/Dolphins.
And he's working on the name. I did a breakdown. And what name did you mock me for including in that breakdown of top 10 young developmental players?
Channing Tindle.
Because he was in it. He was on the list.
Well, because you're looking for 25 and younger, and it was like at some point it stops at 7 or 8.
It stops at 7. It stops at 7. I threw on 3 just because I wanted the list to be a nice, round, bold number. But, I mean, and technically, Channing Tindle can turn around his career. Can he not?
Of course, anything can happen. Sure, I wouldn't hold my breath, but it can happen.
Did we think Charles Harris was going to be a star when he got traded away from Miami?
He's never been a star.
Oh, he double-digit sack guy in Detroit. Come on.
Whoa.
Oh, absolutely. How do you not know that?
Because I don't think he reached double digits. I think he had 1 year that was effective. I think he may have topped out at 8 sacks or something. Hold on.
Oh, 8 sacks? My bad.
Yeah. I could be wrong. I'm going to do it. 7.5. So, okay.
Damn, 7.5. You were right. I was wrong.
I mean, like, star. I was like, whoa, simmer down now. Simmer down.
Yeah, okay. But and I've said this, and hopefully we know he's not instinctive enough to be an inside linebacker. That's clear as day to anybody who's ever been around football for more than 5 minutes. He's now on his 3rd defense. Every year he tells you how easy this new defense is, and yet nobody ever trusts him to play. The Dolphins added 2 linebackers this offseason. And I will say this about Channing Tindle, not that this is an episode about Channing Tindle. He's got athleticism. He's got size. Why not use him as an edge, as an outside linebacker right now in this very moment? It's like set edge, go get quarterback. There's no thinking involved. Why can't he do that at this particular moment when you've got one proven edge player healthy on your roster? I'm just saying, just throwing that out there.
No, you said that before, and then I've agreed with you. It makes perfect sense because, again, unless you see signs in the offseason that, look, well, the lights come on and he's picking it up very quickly, unless you see that sign, I mean, try something with the dude.
Yeah, okay. And even though Vic Fangio basically laughed in my face when I suggested that when they lost all their pass rushers. They're like, oh, he can barely learn inside linebacker.
Yeah, that's because he's a grumpy old man, and you know how I feel about grumpy old men. Okay.
Stop talking about yourself like that. Go ahead.
Okay, so talk about, I'm going to try to build suspense here. The players who were gone, I'm going to do very quickly, the 20 players who were gone before I got to pick. Caleb Williams went first, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Rome Dunze, Joe Alt, Dallas Turner, the edge from Alabama, Jared Verse, the edge from Florida State.
That was a little surprising to me that he went that high.
That was high to me.
Yes.
Troy Fautanu at 10 with the Jets, J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings, Bo Nix of the Broncos at 12, Talisi Fuaga.
That was the selection that I had the biggest issue with because I'm like, Bo Nix over Michael Penix Jr., and I'm not a big Bo Nix fan. He's gonna be Drew Lock.
But for what Sean Payton wants as his quarterback, Bo Nix makes more sense than Michael Penix.
But Michael Penix, okay, that's fine. I disagree.
Fuaga 13 to the Raiders, Fashanu 14 to New Orleans, Brock Bowers 15 to the Colts, Jackson Powers.
Are you surprised that Brock Bowers falls to 15? He's a tight end.
A little bit, but he's got that special, but maybe teams are going to get nervous because Kyle Pitts hasn't panned out the way he was supposed to, although Atlanta's had crappy quarterbacking.
Yeah, but then look what this Detroit tight end did this year.
Correct.
Putting up ridiculous numbers.
It was a second-round pick. I mean,
yeah, this guy's supposed to be better. This pick 16 with Seattle was where I had biggest issues for me.
That was high to me from everything I've gauged. Is Jackson Powers Johnson, Quinion Mitchell at 17 to Jacksonville, J.C. Latham, offensive lineman to Cincinnati at 18, Layatu Latu to the Rams at 19.
That broke your heart. That broke your heart.
It did.
That
Cooper Eugene to Pittsburgh at 20. And then I came to 21, and it's to me, okay, ideally, if I'm going to marry need to best player, it's going to be an edge defender because I think there's a need there, or an offensive tackle I can line up at guard early on, and then he can swing back. Or then do I go ahead.
But let me placate this scenario that you're thinking here, because I do believe Calais Campbell could potentially be in play for Miami later on down the line.
Okay.
I think that he's going to play. I think Miami is a second home for him, and certainly this is his chance. He's never won it. I don't think he's ever won a championship, so it's better than playing for Atlanta. If you saw, and so you add him, you're good on edge. You might even be good at defensive tackle because he can play both spots. But my point is, there are also edges that you can. What's the one from the Jets that they just brought in for a visit?
Carl Lawson.
Yeah. I mean, you can sign an edge.
You can sign a DT, you can sign a safety. I mean, we could do that with every position. So again,
except for quarterback.
It's marrying. Of course, no, they're set at quarterback. They're fine. I'm not going there. I am so not going there. We're not talking quarterback at all. So there's no.
Chris Greer already said they're not looking at quarterback in the first round. No. We didn't look at any of them. We have never talked any of them.
By the way, yes, Michael Penix Jr. was not my pick, so I'll end the suspense right now. So it's a combination again, and I like the idea of operating with a 2-year focus. So you mentioned defensive tackle. They signed like 33 of them, pretty much every one of them to a 1-year contract. They don't have anybody who you would call
1 year for like the minimum. Yeah,
correct. Exciting. So I went with Byron Murphy, 2 from the University of Texas, slightly over Jerzon Newton from the University of Utah, who's also another defensive tackle. I think those guys this year will contribute, and I think down the line have the best value. And Byron Murphy too has vibes of Ed Oliver, who this year.
Who was your runner-up? Who was your runner-up?
Newton from Illinois. Jerzon.
So you were going to go DT or DT. You were absolutely going to pick the first defensive
at that point, or maybe Chop Robinson, the edge defender from Penn State, was another consideration. Go ahead.
There were offensive linemen still available. The Georgia offensive lineman Mims. Then you had Graham Barton from Duke. You had Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma. Why did you pass up on those individuals to strictly focus on defense? Since I'm gonna treat you like Chris Greer.
Press conference. All right, now I'll do like Cam Cameron. That's a very good question, and I'm glad you asked it, but I can't answer it right now. So there you go. Cam Cameron impersonation, ladies and gentlemen. To me, I went highest upside, basically, is what I did there. I think 3 years down the road, we're gonna find out that in my very untrained eye, I can hear the folks in the background going, hell yeah, it's untrained. That Byron Murphy, 2, the second, will be the most impactful NFL player of the bunch.
And why Murphy over Newton?
Pass rush.
But he's
a pass rusher.
Newton gives more pass rush. Wait a minute.
No, he doesn't. You know the comp to Byron Murphy too, right? The comp is Ed Oliver, who was a man crush of mine at the University of Houston, who had his moments but was kind of spotty in his first couple of years with the Bills, but who really broke out.
Yes, he did.
And was a baller.
Okay, hold on.
That's the kind of guy I like on my defensive line.
Let me talk to you about why do I not have defensive stats?
I don't know.
I believe Newton is at like 17 sacks or something like that.
Whoa.
In the college career. Yeah.
College career, I think Byron Murphy had. Hold on.
Newton is at 18 sacks in his college career.
And
Murphy had 8.
Murphy had 8.5 sacks last season.
No, career 5.5, 8.5 tackles for loss.
Wrong place.
Huh?
You're looking in the wrong place because I'm looking at it right now. If my screen would cooperate, and it says 2023 8.5 sacks.
Oh, maybe this.
Oh, sorry. 5 sacks. 5 sacks, 8.5 TFLs. Okay, sorry.
Okay. See. I understand. I'm torn. I would pick Murphy over Newton, primarily because I'm not necessarily comfortable with Newton's size. However, Leger Douzable, who's a CBS Sports HQ analyst, and he does college games for CBS, used to work with me, and I am athlete, former defensive lineman in the NFL, played nearly double-digit seasons.
TCU.
Went
to TCU, unless I'm mistaken.
No, went to UCF.
He did?
Yes, UCF. Yes, because he played with Brandon Marshall. How
about that?
He's telling me, and I do believe him, that because defensive tackles are now making $20 million because they can penetrate the pocket and get sacks and apply pressure. And the easiest way to disrupt quarterbacks is pressure in their face. Mm-hmm. They are going to get paid, and these defensive tackles are going to get thinner and thinner and thinner, and to be more penetrating. And he's like, this is the new wave of the future, and it's not going back. The power pigs, the zeros, they're rare breeds. Teams are going to add them, but they're going to be the fullbacks of the NFL. Whereas the defensive tackles that are smaller in frame and more penetrating, they might give up more against the run. They are going to be in vogue. And I do believe Deuce, because one, he plays, he knows, he's done the studies, he's familiar with how these schemes work. And he's like, now the DTs are getting paid $20 million. The premium is going to be put on getting the sacks.
And who's got the higher pass rushing upside between Murphy and Newton?
According to what people I talk to and what I read, it's Newton. Now I'm more
as a pass rusher. Seeing for me, it's Murphy. So
okay,
which is why I went with him.
One's got 18 sacks, one's got 8.
I understand that. I'm talking about upside. I'm not talking about
And then keep in mind that Murphy, it's not like he played with a slouch next to him, you know. Tavon Sweat, he's also projected as a first-round pick. I can't remember which one of them got arrested for DUI.
No, it's Sweat, and he's not going on he wasn't going on the first round. Sweat was going to go in the second round precisely because he's one of those.
Yeah, and he's also a power pick. So,
well, correct. He's one of those. He's one of those Keith Trailer types.
Yeah,
although he can move a little bit.
That's a power pick.
Nice.
Sorry if the term makes you uncomfortable.
I apologize to Vondre. No, I don't like that term. Power peg. No, it's not very nice.
Okay, my bad. But I understand where you're coming from. Let me ask you this question. No consideration to wide receiver?
No.
Why?
Because it's insanely stupidly deep class. I'm sure they can get a stud in round 2.
Stud in round 2?
Yes.
Okay, yes. And then how do you address your offensive line needs based on Alan Poupard's draft philosophy? Because right now
but if there's a guy in the second round who is a good prospect, then you don't go with the wide receiver. Or maybe this is where your third round pick comes into play. You're not going to be able to address we're not going to be able to address all the needs, which are, again, interior defensive linemen. You might say it's not a need because they have, again, 33 new players, but do they have a difference maker? I say no other than Zach Sealer. They need an edge rusher. They need a wide receiver. They need a safety.
Mm-hmm.
They need, and what else am I missing? Linemen.
Yeah,
they're not going to be able to address all of those.
That is true. That is true and well, and accurate. I feel a little bit more comfortable going with offensive line in the first round than I do going with defensive tackle. I think that there's some defensive tackles that you could add them to the pile of guys that you have that and develop them, and you could add Calais Campbell. And offensive tackle, I don't think you have that luxury. While I think you're okay with what you have right now and can go status quo, either Liam or Driscoll could be your starting right guard. Isaiah Wynn could be your starting left guard. You know where you are at left tackle, and you know what you just added at center. So I think you can make it work status quo, but then to your point, the 2-year window, you're screwed. Lamb is retiring, more than likely. I don't want to speak for Terron.
He's already said it. Lamb's already said it. This is the last year.
Yeah. But I don't want to speak for Terron. I could speak for Lamb.
Okay, the tea leaves kind of suggest he's going to be done after this year.
We shall see. I mean,
it's not a lock, but it's like
the
way the contract is structured. Number one, number two. This is a guy who said, "Well, no, I've thought about retirement for the past 2-3 off seasons."
Yeah.
Okay. You think the Dolphins are going to be real quick to throw more money at him, throw more big money at him when he's pondered retirement like that?
I don't think next year, even if they do, they just shook him down already. So right. I think he's at 8. So Terron is probably one of those veterans. Once you hit double digits, guys aren't playing for less than $6 million a year. I know that unless they've been a low salary player the majority of their career, they're not getting out of bed for less than $6 million a year. So okay. I think depends on whether or not he wants to play. I think the door will always be open here. You heard Chris Greer talk about how much value he brings to the meeting room, how much he's helped the young players get, progress and develop. And and say whatever you want, and I will fight anybody to death. When Terron is healthy, Terron is good, and you don't worry about that spot. Now,
top five.
There were games last year where I was watching the film, and he even acknowledged it, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" Because it was not up to the Terron standard. Now, it looked like an average offensive lineman, but it was not up to the Terron standard. If Terron is healthy and good, and we know he's not participating in OTAs, he's not participating in training camp, he's not participating in the exhibition season. He's going to practice once per week during the regular season. And as long as he's good for Sunday, I'm good with that. So
I'm fine with that, and no argument there. When he's right, he's a top 5 left tackle in the NFL. I mean, the dude can play. And as you mentioned, also, he's a great locker room guy. He's a great guy to have around. And so if his play doesn't take a massive dip and he does want to return, yeah, I could see it. But again, is he going to hold up? He's never played a full season his entire career. That's number one. Number two, the fact that he said, I've considered retirement the past 3 off seasons.
But it's not like body breakdown. Okay, yeah, the knees are getting old, but it's always something rolling up on an ankle or somebody hitting the knee or the back. I'll give you that.
Yeah, but there's an accumulation factor going on here. I mean, let's not pretend that there isn't. I mean, he's more fragile because again, he's had every body part probably injured 3 times already. So it's like
you know what I'm told by veteran players. It's not that you get injured more often when you're older. The issue is it takes you longer to get over the injury. And that's what the biggest issue is. So
if you've also had a body part that's been injured before, 99% of the time, it's going to be more susceptible to it's going to take less for it to get re-injured again at some point. Yes, I understand there are exceptions, but I know where you're going with it. Yes, if you're looking at the 2-year window, absolutely an offensive tackle would make sense. But again, it's not like the Dolphins won't have the chance to pick up somebody in free agency next offseason. Again, under the scenario where Armstead and Lamb both are gone after 2024. Again, it's not like they're not going to have it. It's not like if they don't do it now, they're screwed. I mean, it's not that hard. So to me, it's like, okay, get the higher upside prospect.
I wanted to ask you this question. Let's say you didn't go with Murphy or Newton.
Okay.
Who would have been the offensive tackle that came off the board at 21? Who was in the consideration for you?
Guyton would have been my pick. Again, upside. I know I hear an awful lot of what's the word, campaigning for Graham Barton from Duke, who, yeah, my thoughts exactly. And then he's got position versatility. Daniel Jeremiah, we did another lengthy conference call or Zoom session pre-draft this week, says he can play all 5 positions along the offensive line. That's great. I think there's a consensus his best position in the NFL is center. And if I'm looking at the 2-year window, the Dolphins have signed Aaron Brewers for 3 years, $21 million. The real money is over the first 2 seasons. Do we really need to push a guy in Aaron Brewer's best position in the NFL? By all accounts, is center, not guard, which is where he played his first 3 years. So we're going to be displacing a couple of guys. It's one of those the Dolphins don't necessarily need to look at center. If Graham Barton's best position in the NFL is center, and I think the verbiage from Daniel Jeremiah is Graham Barton can play tackle if you need him to. That doesn't floor me.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm very curious to see how this draft pans out for the Miami Dolphins. If you missed episode number 268, which featured Simon Clancy, you definitely want to check it out because Simon killed it with a Dolphin-specific draft talk. Players who fit their needs, players who's visited the team, players who Dolphins have been there with the workout. Simon Clancy, who is part of 3 Yards Per Carry podcast, which is also part of the 5 Reasons Sports podcast network, which we are part of. He did a phenomenal job on that podcast. And I strongly encourage you to go over it, listen to it, pay attention, study the names. And Simon also has a draft guide that I'm actually going through it now. And I'm a big fan. Those who know me and have followed me for years, I'm a big fan of Nolan Naraki's draft guide, which does not exist anymore because he went to go work for the Los Angeles Raiders.
Oh, that's right. He's
and he's retired. He's out the game. But it used to be filled with the nitty gritty dirt, all the back channels, bad personality, baby mama and daddy issues. All it used to be filled with all that stuff. And Simon's got some of it in his draft guide. So if you want to know the inner workings of players, so you don't end up with the next Deion Jordan, go read Simon Clancy's draft guide. Go order Simon Clancy's draft guide, or listen to episode number 268 of the All Dolphins podcast. Next week we'll probably have on Emery Hunt.
Sorry about that. That's my ringtone. That's Santana. It's Santana, Samba Pati. It's an instrumental. Let me guess, you've never heard of it.
I'm sure I have.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, you tell the folks how to get it. DM Simon at SI Clancy to get it. I go back, it's probably before your time. You ever heard the name Joel Bushbaum?
I know the name.
Okay, that's the first dude who had like a draft annual, which also included a lot of the nitty gritty. Was very
and you had to mail for it. It was before Mel Kiper, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. I think it was slightly before. I think he was the first guy who started the cottage industry.
Yeah, I did as a kid. I used to order Mel Kiper's draft guide, and considering
the green cover, very thick, right?
No, it used to be thin back when I was ordering it. Like, oh yeah, it used to be.
When I ordered it, it was like very, very thick, and the Bushbaum book was in the same format as the Nolan Waraki.
The real book format, yeah,
the smallish like this, basically.
I love it. I love it. I'm not in that business. I'm not in that industry. And in fact, I've stopped poring over draft prospects. I used to love that, but I don't have the time. I look at positions of need. So I've looked at defensive tackle. I've looked kind of at the edge. I'm not complete. I've looked kind of at the wide receiver. I'm not complete. And I'm poured over offensive linemen, and I've looked at safety. Safety's complete. I think you're going to get some good safety in this draft. And hopefully, you know what I want to do with my second round pick. Don't judge me. Listen, mark my words. 5 years from now, when he's signing a $70 million contract with whatever team drafts him, don't say I didn't tell you.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I've covered UM for forever, and that kid is a superstar. That kid is
whoa. Superstar was Ed Reed. And Ed Reed
Ed Reed was a legend. Ed Reed was a Hall of Famer.
Okay. And here's my thing here.
Will be a superstar in the NFL.
Okay. Here's my thing. To me, maybe the number one quality for safety is instincts more than anything else. And to me, I cannot get over, and I mentioned this before, and I know I'm like sounding like an old man. His lack of awareness on the final play against Georgia Tech is mind-boggling, and to me, eliminates him to me as a possibility. It's frighteningly bad to be that oblivious to the game situation. It's wow.
He's a young man. He's got classes and girls on his mind.
So did Ed Reed, and Ed Reed was always right.
Ed Reed never had girls on his mind. Never.
Okay.
Never. I can tell you never met Ed Reed. Ed Reed is watching film right now. Very intense individual. But we definitely appreciate you guys for watching, participating in this. We'll do something mock draft-ish. Maybe we'll do a full mock draft for the Dolphins. You like that? You like that?
Sure.
Kirk Cousins?
Sure, Kirk.
All right. Say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye to the people.
All right.